Hey everybody, this is Jungle Jenna and I'm back with another video. So in today's video, I am going to deviate slightly from the series that I've been doing where I've been focusing on antagonistic enemies to lovers romances and also Star Wars romances. And I'm going to talk about the original trilogy compared to the sequel trilogy. So in my hometown, there's this little theater that has been refurbished, so it's really nice on the inside, except for the seats. The seats are super uncomfortable. But this guy who used to like work with Broadway and stuff, he moved to my hometown and he bought out this theater and put loads of money into renovating it. So it's this really cool place. And so for June has been Star Wars month, and it's been the month for the original trilogy. So they played A New Hope one week, Empire Strikes Back the second week, and Return of the Jedi the third week. And they're actually going to be playing the prequel trilogy in August, which I'm like on the fence about watching because I've only ever seen The Phantom Menace, and I'm actually kind of curious about Revenge of the Sith. I've only seen like little bits and pieces of it, but from what I did see, it was kind of intriguing, the dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker. But I kind of am debating on whether or not I should go see the prequels. But then they're going to be playing the sequel trilogy in September, so that will be The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So this theater, like I've gone to this theater a lot for different, like for October they play all Halloween movies, and so it's really, and then for December they play all Christmas movies. So I'm pretty familiar with this theater, and I would say that a modest number of people attend the screenings for these movies. But for Star Wars, man, the house was just absolutely packed. Like people were crawling out of the woodworks, wanting to come see the original trilogy. So I'm kind of hoping that the sequel trilogy will have the same turnout. But I saw the original trilogy like 2 to 3 years ago when The Force Awakens first came out, and this was before The Last Jedi, so I'm mainly going to be comparing The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi to The Last Jedi, because I actually found a lot of parallels. Like, I did notice with A New Hope that there were a lot of parallels between A New Hope and The Force Awakens. Like, they kind of hit the same story beats. But I was really surprised by how many parallels there were between The Last Jedi and the last two movies of the original trilogy. So that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on more in this video. So, but aside from, before I launch into that, it was really fun with the movie screenings because people were super into the movies. They were clapping, cheering, whooping. There were people dressed as stormtroopers there, and I actually got my picture taken with all of the stormtroopers. And I was wearing a pink tank top with Darth Vader's head on it, and it said, "I like bad boys." And one of the stormtroopers was like, "Oh, she likes bad boys." And I felt so embarrassed because I was like, "Yes, I do." So I felt so silly, like, responding the way that I did, but it was just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. But anyway, so moving on to the parallels between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. So when it comes to The Last Jedi, like some parallels that I noticed in The Empire Strikes Back is that you have, obviously you have the cave scene between both Luke and Rey. So Luke goes into the cave when he's with Yoda, and he sees Darth Vader, and he ends up cutting off Darth Vader's head, and it's later revealed that the face beneath Darth Vader's mask is his own. And then when Rey goes into the cave on Ahch-To, she goes wanting to see her parents, and she ends up just seeing a reflection of herself. So it was kind of interesting that both Luke and Rey were in a position where they were confronted with the image of themselves when they went into the cave and kind of had this experience with the dark side. What's interesting to note though is that they both have to, I mean, this is just my opinion. I would love it. This is just my interpretation. So I would love if, you put your interpretations and your opinions down in the comment section, because I'm just going based off of, I haven't read anything about like the significance of these parallels or what these scenes mean. Like, I'm kind of just going based off of my own like intuition or whatever. So anyway, I think it's just kind of interesting that both are confronted with the image of themselves, because they both in a way have to confront the truth about their bloodline. So Luke Skywalker has to confront the truth about who his father is in order to become a Jedi. And here is the difference. Even though both Rey and Luke have to confront the truth about their bloodline, they have to do it for different reasons. Because Luke's goal in the original trilogy was to become a Jedi. That was what he wanted to become. Whereas Rey, she's not really so concerned about becoming a Jedi, even though she stole the books from the Jedi Temple and is teaching herself the ways of the Force, and is obviously going to be more Jedi-esque in The Rise of Skywalker. Really, like, what Rey ultimately is seeking is belonging. So I thought it was kind of interesting how both scenes were very similar, but they ultimately lead to different outcomes because both characters are looking for different things. And then also, I thought it was interesting in The Empire Strikes Back how the scene between Luke and Darth Vader in Cloud City is very similar to the scene between Rey and Kylo Ren in the throne room in The Last Jedi. Darth Vader basically tells Luke to join him on the dark side and that they'll rule the galaxy together, and he even offers his hand out to Luke. And Luke ultimately denies him, where, Kylo Ren sort of does the same. He kind of gives Rey the same spiel, except he doesn't necessarily specify that he's on the dark side, that he wants her to join the dark side, but he's just more, let's get rid of all of this old garbage and start something new, and I want you to do that with me, and he offers his hand to her. But even though those scenes are similar, and I've heard other people say, like, oh, The Last Jedi ripped off The Empire Strikes Back with that scene, blah, 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 the difference is the dynamic of their relationships. With Luke and Darth Vader, obviously Darth Vader is the father, Luke is the son. And with Rey and Kylo Ren and Rey have this antagonistic relationship where they have slowly built this relationship with each other, and they have established this bond of trust, and they have this potential romance kind of brewing between them. So it's a completely different dynamic, but I still thought it was really interesting that they had those parallels. And then also, I would say in the in what's it called, Return of the Jedi, one of the other big parallels that I noticed was the whole when Luke goes to, because Luke goes to Darth Vader the same way that Rey goes to Kylo Ren. So they go for different reasons. Luke goes because he knows that he must confront Darth Vader, but I guess like the one similar thing about their reasons for going to the bad guy, the quote-unquote bad guy, is that both Rey and Luke want to try to appeal to the light in both Darth Vader and Kylo Ren. So both Rey and Luke believe that they can turn the person that they care about back to the light side because they sense that conflict in them. And even Luke and Rey have the exact same line of, I feel the conflict within you, or, something like that. That's not like verbatim, that's just paraphrasing what they said. But I would say that like when, Darth Vader ends up taking Luke to Emperor Palpatine, it's very similar to how Kylo Ren takes Rey to Snoke. And the entire time, both Snoke and Emperor Palpatine are goading Luke and Rey. But the one difference that I did notice is that Luke was trying very hard to be stoic and to not rise to Emperor Palpatine's bait. He was trying to remain, like he was watching the rebel fleet be attacked by, be wiped out by the Empire, the same way that Rey was watching the Resistance fleet be wiped out by the First Order. But Rey was like a lot more fiery and like wanting to fight Snoke, and she was taking Kylo Ren's lightsaber and was trying to attack Snoke and stuff, and she was like making all her little growling noises, and she was like fierce and ferocious, whereas like Luke had to be pushed to the point where like he lost all control, but it took a long time to get to that point. But still, I thought like Emperor Palpatine's lines of like "fulfill your destiny," the same way that Snoke says to Kylo Ren, like "fulfill your destiny," and it's just like, wow, there are a lot of parallels between these two scenes, and both Darth Vader and Kylo Ren kill their master in order to save the person that they care about. The difference is that Darth Vader ends up dying as a result of killing Emperor Palpatine, whereas Kylo Ren ends up going on to become Supreme Leader. But what I think is so interesting about these differences is that obviously, like, you have the father and the son with Darth Vader and Luke, and then you have a potential romance between Kylo Ren and Rey where they're force bonded and they have this connection where they could potentially be the balance of the Force. But what's so interesting about the differences in these scenes is that I feel like with Kylo Ren, they have accomplished... They have gone further with Kylo Ren's character than they even did with Darth Vader himself. So I absolutely love Darth Vader's character, so that's not like a slight to him and how he's written. But it's just so interesting to me how, like, Kylo Ren has kind of accomplished certain things that Darth Vader has, and he's had kind of similar story beats and stuff, but it's like they're saying, and this is just my interpretation, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but I feel like it's almost like, no, the stakes are higher for Kylo Ren's character and his redemption, and we're not going to have it just be this thing where he's redeemed at the very last minute by saving his son or by saving Rey. Like, they want the stakes to be higher and for his redemption to be more well earned. And even though I thought Darth Vader's redemption arc was very satisfying and I thought it was very emotional, I just feel like they're pushing Kylo Ren's character further than what they've done in the Star Wars universe so far. And so I think it's really exciting, and it actually made me really hopeful that the end game for Kylo Ren's character is for him to be redeemed and for Rey and Kylo Ren to hopefully be the balance of the Force. So that's pretty much my thoughts on kind of the parallels between... Those are like surface level thoughts on the parallels between like the sequel trilogy and the original trilogy. And obviously, like, there are way more parallels than that. I know that A New Hope and The Force Awakens they hit a lot of the same story beats. But one thing I did want to mention too, one thing that I kind of noticed in the original trilogy is that I really actually was able to see Luke turning into the man that he later became in The Last Jedi. And I know that so many Star Wars fans have such an issue with the way that Luke Skywalker was handled in the sequel trilogy so far, and it really bothers me. And when I watched the original trilogy, I was just thinking, I was like, no, this is actually a very like kind of logical progression for his character. And in some ways, like in The Empire Strikes Back, when he's interacting with Yoda, like Luke Skywalker ends up becoming Yoda. Like a lot of the scenes between Luke and Yoda are very reminiscent of the scenes between Luke and Rey. Even though there are differences just in the way that the story goes, like still, like Luke ends up just becoming this really tired, worn out, bitter Jedi master. And so, and I think that like what people tend to miss with, people tend to argue that they believe that Luke wasn't capable of attempting to kill Kylo Ren because he believed in his father, who was like the most evil person alive in the galaxy. He was able to see the light in him, so why couldn't he see that with Kylo Ren? And I think that people tend to miss the point that Luke is the type of character who, like with Darth Vader's character, the reason why he opened himself up to him was because he sensed the light in him. And so because he sensed that conflict, he believed in it intuitively and wanted to save his father. Whereas with Kylo Ren, he didn't sense that conflict in him. He didn't sense the light in him. All he saw was darkness. And I think that had a lot to do with Snoke's interference and his manipulation. So I think, he could have even been sensing Snoke's presence, kind of infiltrating Kylo Ren's mind when he did read his mind on kind of at the Jedi Academy before he attempted to kill him. And so I think that it really comes down to like I said, Luke sensed the light in Darth Vader and wanted to save him. Luke sensed the darkness in Kylo Ren and wanted to destroy him in order to protect everything that they had gained through destroying the Empire. So it really doesn't seem like that huge of a leap to me why Luke became the way he did in The Last Jedi. But I think it's, but I was watching a video. It was recommended to me on YouTube, and I'm not sure why, because I've never heard of this channel before. And I won't say the channel's name because I don't want to direct hate towards that channel. But the girl was saying she was commenting on Mark Hamill's comments about how he's pretty much, he feels like he got his closure in The Last Jedi, and he doesn't necessarily want to come back for future films unless, he has the obligatory curtain call Force Ghost scene. So people are kind of freaking out about Luke possibly becoming a Force Ghost in The Rise of Skywalker, and I admit I would love to see that. That would be really exciting. But she was kind of going on to say, she had tweeted, I don't blame you for not wanting to come back, Mark Hamill, because of how atrociously your story was handled in The Last Jedi, and Disney doesn't know what they're doing, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just why don't you people understand? So, sorry, I was having a moment, and I know that I should just let the drama just roll off my back, and I should just enjoy the sequel trilogy and not care about the haters, but some of that stuff just sometimes gets to me. So anyway, this video has turned into kind of just a rambling mess, so I'm going to kind of leave it off here, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And I am going to be in the future, I'm going to be doing some more Reylo-esque romances within the Star Wars universe, but then also just books that I read just outside of the Star Wars universe, and whether they're romance novels or classic literature or whatever. So and then also my friend Emily and she's working on her Boys Over Flowers video right now, so she's going to be doing a breakdown video where she's drawing parallels between Boys Over Flowers and Reylo. And when I say Boys Over Flowers, I don't mean the Korean drama. I mean the original Japanese anime that you can watch on cartooncrazy.net if you're interested, and it has an amazing English dub. So if you're not interested in reading subtitles, you don't have to worry about that with this show. But yeah, so after she makes that video, I'm going to put a link to her video, and then we're going to do a discussion video that's going to be us basically just fangirling and talking about all the different parallels and stuff. So yeah, it'll be fun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.